If you're watching this, you may be considering purchasing an investment property or a second home in Cocoa Beach. Welcome to the channel. I'm Rachel Langley with Florida Lifestyle Realty. I'm a real estate agent. And this is Elise Johnson. She's with Flora Casa. She is a vacation rental manager. And we go over all the rules, regulations, everything you need to know when you're considering purchasing a property that you're going to rent out as a vacation rental or a short-term rental. So today we're going to go over Cocoa Beach. And if you haven't been to the channel already, we already have a Cape Canaveral video. And make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're going to be talking about next week. We're going to be talking about Satellite Beach and going all the way down.
Make our way down the coast.
Yes. Let's get started. All right. First thing you need to know when you're considering purchasing a property in Cocoa Beach is that there are rental restrictions. So, Elise, what are the rental restrictions in Cocoa Beach? And this is going to be a complicated answer.
It is.
Make sure you take some notes.
Yeah. Okay, so in Cocoa Beach, for the most part, does not put a time frame on a vacation rental. So unlike Cape Canaveral, which we discussed, you have to be there for at least 7 days. Cocoa Beach does not put a time limit on it or time minimum on it. So you're fine to do a daily, weekly rental in the residential areas. So I say that because it's super important if you are considering buying a home there to look at the zoning map and confirm exactly which zone the property is in. There are some other zones in there, such as Cottage Row. Technically, Airbnb type listings are not in that area. And then there's also a town center area, which you can do them, but they're a special exception you have to apply for.
Okay, and let's talk about the area called Cottage Row. Because if you drive by it, it looks like they're all Airbnbs. So tell me a little bit about that area.
Okay, so Cottage Row has one of the primary uses there is bed and breakfasts, so B&Bs. You drive through, it looks like there's a lot of Airbnbs, like you're saying, or short-term rentals. And there are some properties that might give you that opportunity, just depending on how they're set up and split up between units. So I would work with your realtor and dig into each property on a case-by-case basis.
Right. For example, I showed a 6-family recently, and the current owners were using that as an Airbnb. They were renting it out. So it's just situational. That would need to be purchased with a commercial loan because it's higher than a 4-unit property. So it's situational. Okay, and then when we were talking about RS1, that area, they do not have restrictions on the time frame that you're allowed to rent. However, if it is in an HOA, you have to revert back to the HOA rules. In some HOA rules, they have limits on rentals. They're allowed to make those rental restrictions. So some are 1 month, some are 1 year, some are 6 months. So that's also something you have to look out for when you're looking at properties in Cocoa Beach.
It's also important to note that, we said Cocoa Beach doesn't restrict the time period. So you're open to do a daily rental, but they do have other restrictions as well as regulations and requirements around you doing a short-term rental there. So they have, just for example, some parking restrictions. There is a registration and licensing process that you go through, which will an inspection, which will probably run you about $500 to $600, as well as maintaining that each year.
Okay, yeah, and you also need to have
business tax.
License,
Yep,
right?
You need county and city business tax license.
Okay.
Business tax receipt.
Yes, and one thing to also keep note of, if you're not working with a manager, you're doing it all yourself on Airbnb or Vrbo. Sometimes they take out the vacation tax for you and sometimes they don't. So you need to also be aware that there is a vacation tax and you need to know if the website you're using is taking it out already for you and they're going to be paying the government, or if you need to be withholding those funds so that when taxes come, you pay the government.
In Brevard, we call that the tourist development tax.
One thing to look out for is there's this area called Avon by the Sea. And it is right on the border of Cape Canaveral. There's a part of Avon by the Sea in city limits of Cape Canaveral. There's a part in unincorporated Brevard County in Avon by the Sea, and then there's also Cocoa Beach, Avon by the Sea. So when you're looking at properties in that area, you have to be really careful where it's located, because it could say Cocoa Beach, but it could actually be in unincorporated Brevard. And we actually just ran into an issue. Someone we know owned a property there. Avon by the Sea has always traditionally been known as somewhere where it's a safe spot. You can Airbnb daily there. However, she got a letter on her door and she actually cannot rent out daily. She has to rent out at a minimum of 90 days, right?
Yes. So this particular homeowner knew they were in Avon by the Sea, but thought they were technically in Cape Canaveral city limits, but they were in an unincorporated section of Avon by the Sea. So it defaults to unincorporated rental rulings, which is the 90 days.
Okay, so as you can see, rental restrictions can be a little bit complicated in regards to time frames of how long you rent out, whether it's a daily rental, weekly rental, monthly rental, 1 year rental. So although there are general areas we have an idea of what's allowed, it's super important to do your due diligence. As a real estate agent, I can give you an idea from the knowledge I know, and I can call zoning and double check on the property. However, it's also super important that you also make that phone call and that it's very clear that you are allowed to do what you want to do with that property before you purchase it.
And don't get like a simple yes, no answer for them. Really, get on the phone with them and talk about, where is this in the ordinance that I can do it? What zone am I in? Just so you have a good understanding of it.
So I get calls all the time that people are looking to purchase condo units in Cocoa Beach because it's a great opportunity, lower maintenance, and they have amenities, pools, private beach access, private riverfront access. However, like we mentioned, there are HOA neighborhoods that have rental restrictions, and then there's also condo buildings that have their own rental restrictions. So what are some condo buildings in Cocoa Beach that would be good for someone who's looking to rent out as a vacation rental?
Okay, so for a vacation rental, like you said, 1 week, 2 week are great options, even a month in some cases. In Cocoa Beach, the Boardwalk, which is downtown by Minuteman, is a great option for the weekly. Sandcastles is another one. One of the buildings in the Diplomat, Ola Grande, Chateau by the Sea, and Cocoa Beach Towers are just to name a few. There are other options out there for you. Oh, and Spanish Main. And there's a smaller building, Flores de la Costa, which allows 2 week rentals.
All right, one thing to know when you're looking at condo buildings in general, but if you're looking at condo buildings that are going to allow you to do that short-term rentals, 2 weeks or less, sometimes it's not always cut and dry financing like you would see on a single family home where conventional financing you could do 5, 10, 20% for an investment property or second home. Because a lot of the condo buildings are rented out short term, lenders require a bigger down payment. So a lot of times we see that you have to put 30% down for these. So it's really important to, if you really want to get a condo, to talk to a local lender who knows a lot of these condos and can give you an idea of what a down payment is going to look like. So there are a lot of condo buildings that do have 1 month, 3 month restrictions. So are those condos still a good idea for people that are looking to purchase as a second home? Can you still make a good amount of money on those?
Yeah, so there are a lot of condos with 1 month, 3 and 3 month rental minimums. Yes, they are still a great option for generating some income, especially if it's your vacation property, your second home. The rent really is just offsetting some of your cost of ownership, so they are a great opportunity. I would say anything in the 6 month to a year or up makes it a little bit harder for you to use it part-time for yourself, and then also find a guest to be in there the rest of the time. So I would keep it to 3 months or less if you're thinking about also using it for yourself.
And last but not least, let's talk about finances real quick. We talked a lot about this in the Cape Canaveral video. Make sure you check it out because a lot of times people looking in Cocoa Beach are also looking in Cape Canaveral, so make sure you check that out. We talk a lot about finances there, but just to give someone, especially if you have an investor mindset, you know a lot about cap rates, what is the cap rate you're probably going to be looking at for this purchase?
So 8 to 12 is, if you Google it, that's what you see as being the goal range. Being that we are in Florida, it's a very desirable location. Property costs are a little bit higher. We also have higher insurance rates, kind of add to your cost of ownership. So we typically see cap rates around the 5 to 8 range. 5% is, great for someone who's using it, like we were just mentioning about like offsetting cost of ownership, because that's really, you know, your investment for yourself, for your future use, your second home. So it's not so important for the cap rate to be at the high end there. But yeah, I would say 5 to 8 is pretty typical.
All right. One thing I will say about Cocoa Beach is I love it here. I mean, obviously I live here.
No, it's great. There's so many things that go on in town, so many events to draw people in. Of course, the weather too helps just a little bit. But in the summer months, maybe when it's a little bit warmer and we don't have all the snowbirds here, the city of Cocoa Beach puts on a lot of events, always bringing crowds. So there's lots of opportunity for rentals.
Yes, and we also are the closest beach to Orlando. So in the summertime, we get a ton of people coming from Orlando on summer vacation with their kids. We've got the rockets going off. Now we've got one like every week.
It feels like every week there's a rocket.
It's really cool. And you can see them right along the Cocoa Beach. And, you know, and especially if you get a condo on the ocean, we've got some amazing views of those launches. And we also got Friday Fest. The other day there was this local band at the Friday Fest and they were singing Rocket Man, and at that same exact time there was a launch. So it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, but nonetheless, Cocoa Beach it's a great area. So let us know if you have any questions about purchasing a vacation rental or second home in Cocoa Beach. We're here as a resource. I, as a real estate agent, Elise as a vacation rental property manager. And make sure you subscribe, because next week we're going to be doing Satellite Beach, which is also a really awesome beach town just south of Cocoa Beach. And we'll see you on the next one.